All right, let's dive into this one. So this is Odysseus outwits Achilles. And for this image, I really wanted to make sure that it was at the height or the climax of the scene where essentially Achilles has picked up a sword and Odysseus has someone blow a war trumpet in the background, and Achilles goes into a fighting stance. And they all realize that this is actually Achilles because he was disguised as a princess, and all the other princesses will be running for their lives. They don't want any part of any kind of war or battle. So yeah, just laying out the figures here in a asymmetrical composition, which I'm always shooting for. I love to just try to balance all kinds of different elements in an image asymmetrically. So I think it creates cool shapes and it allows your eye to move through the image and around it, and hopefully interesting way. And here I am just throwing in a little peacock at the bottom right. I thought that would be a appropriate thing to see in a royal court, kingdom, palace. So it's always fun to throw those little animals or little objects in there that can kind of add some flavor to the scene. Yeah, so just making sure my shapes, like I'm happy with the silhouettes. That's something I really love, is just having shapes, shapes that have interesting silhouettes. So that's typically something I'll spend a little bit of time on in my line work, but I don't go overboard with my line work because once I understand the gist of the shapes, I'm going to make sure I refine them later when I go into my final illustration. So here we are in the color sketch. Again, just going straight into color and value, making sure the values are going to read. The foreground characters here, like Odysseus and Nestor and Phoenix, they're all going to be dark because they're kind of in the shadow, which is the foreground is a little bit more in shadow, and then the midground where Achilles is obviously bathed in light. And you'll notice I put a really, really bright yellow, pale cream yellow right behind him. And that's the hottest, brightest part of the image, which is a focal point where your eye will be drawn to. And then the princesses in the background are dark on a medium value background. And so you can make out the shapes, but they're not really a focal point like, the foreground characters in Achilles are. Yeah, so this is always a fun part of the process, just figuring out the color composition and kind of what the tone should be. With this one, in a lot of these images, I'm always going for some sort of wonder or awe or majesty, and so any opportunity I can take to sort of push the lighting in a way that gives it more wonder and more of that mythical sort of romance, I'm always going to lean into that. And I'm really happy with the lighting on this one. I think it turned out pretty cool and it feels nice.